I received a couple questions about how I actually run Internet Explorer on my Mac, and I just wanted to take the time now to actually tell you guys. Um, Ever since Mac, a few years ago now, moved to Intel processors, which I'm sure you've heard of Intel and know that you could buy a PC that was an Intel, you had the ability to run Windows on your Mac, and there's basically the two most popular ways of doing it were either to run Bootcamp or to run some virtualization software. Now, Bootcamp basically allows you to split your hard drive in half, or whatever, partition it in whatever you want, and install Windows on it on one of the partitions. Now, what that means is that if you wanted to run Windows, you'd actually have to reboot into Windows. You'd restart your computer. I think you'd hold down like Option on your Mac, and you'd be faced with a screen on which one to boot, Windows or the Mac, and then you'd boot into Windows. And honestly, Boot Camp works great, but if I'm doing web development, I don't want to have to reboot into Windows to go to view my pages in Internet Explorer. So I went the route of using virtualization software. I've used both Parallels Desktop and VMware Fusion. They're pretty much the most popular virtualization software out there. So what does actual virtualization software do? Well, Parallels and VMware, they basically, the best way to say it is that they trick software, specifically in this case Windows, into thinking that the software itself is a computer. And then from there you could install Windows, and that's what I'm doing now. I mean, if you see, here is I'm running Parallels right now, and if you see, this is Internet Explorer running side by side with everything else on my Mac. Let me go into a different view, so it'll probably this is probably what you're more used to seeing, the old Windows 7 desktop, and here I am, see, with the good old start menu and all that stuff. Now, both actually, before I move on to what you actually need, Parallels and VMware are sort of the same. I mean, they function the same. I've used VMware more, and just most recently I switched to Parallels for no good reason. Actually, the only reason I even moved to Parallels was because that's what my employer bought me. So it's either I use what they give me or I go spend money elsewhere, and Parallels was fine. At this point, I think I actually like VMware a little bit better, but I've read some reviews that says that Parallels actually runs a little bit better than VMware. I don't know. Honestly, the only reason I liked VMware, maybe I only liked VMware better because I was more used to it and I knew where all the buttons are, because in the end, it runs just fine for me. I'll tell you what though, if using VMware, it can slow down your computer, so you need to make sure you have a good deal of memory on your Mac, and you also don't want to be running software that's really processor intensive, that's virtualized. For example, if I was running the Windows version of Photoshop within Parallels on my Mac, it would definitely run slower than if I just ran it, natively, like if I ran the Mac version of Photoshop on my Mac. So keep that in mind. And if you're curious to know what I have as far as my laptop, I have a lot of RAM. I have 8 gigs of RAM, and I have a 266 processor. So this is way more than I need, but actually, if I fire up Activity Monitor, which is inside of your Utilities folder, Applications, and then Utilities, you could see that even my system memory, there's a good deal of it being that's already in use. You see, I don't have even. Wow, I'm surprised. I didn't even have that much free. Close to 8 gigs is being used, and that's just because Parallels in itself is just gonna hog up a good deal of memory. I think I put it to like some of the preferences I made. I kind of beefed it up to make sure it works as good as it can. So in order to get this running on your computer, you can't just buy Parallels. Parallels itself, or VMware Fusion itself, or Bootcamp itself for that matter, isn't all you need. You actually need the software on top of it. So Bootcamp, Parallels, or VMware actually allow you to install Windows, but the next thing you need to do is, well, get Windows. So I can't go into how to install it and all that different stuff. This was just more of an overview of how I run it. In future videos, you may see me in let's see. I don't like viewing my stuff in a window like this. I do, let's see, where's the view? Oh, here's view. I do this cohesive thing, which kind of just allows these applications to live similar to other stuff, just open like this, so everything's kind of meshed together. So don't let that confuse you. This is not Internet Explorer for the Mac. This is Internet Explorer for Windows in a virtual setting. And the cheapest way to go, especially if you're a student at a university, is go to their student store, because I've seen versions of VMware Fusion sold, for example, at the UCLA student store for as little as, I think, $40, and UCLA Extension sells copies of Windows, or at least they did when I got mine, for I think $25. So, and it's legit. Obviously, they're not selling you bootleg software, which is important. And the final note is, if you want to get the software to run the best, you need to make sure you get the 64-bit version of it. If you see you can get Windows 7 in 32-bit and 64-bit, you need to make sure you get 64-bit. Not that it won't run, but we're just talking about optimizing performance, meaning you want to make sure it runs as fast as it possibly can.